Hi, I'm Aidan from British Dodgeball, and today we're going to look at set play strategy in Dodgeball. So, firstly, let's define what a set play actually is. It's a coordinated movement between at least two of your team members, usually planned, practiced, communicated in advance to improve your team's success rate. It normally forms a basis of team attacks in Dodgeball, like group throws, and it's really important because it turns Dodgeball into an organised team sport from quite a chaotic individual sport. Let's look at some set plays. Okay, so you've heard of the 5 Ds of Dodgeball. Let's look at the 6 Ts of set play strategy. Now, we're going to examine and really break it down into 3 phases. Play calling, so deciding the target and who's actually going to throw and make the attack. The attack itself with coordination, the non-throwers taking attention of opponents, while the throwers consider their timing and technique. And then finally, you transition to defense, so the non-throwers posing a really viable threat on retreat to help the throwers get back safely. We're going to look at each of them now. So the first thing your team needs to do is identify a target. This could be a throw-in threat, so there's less firepower coming back at you. It could be a catch-in threat to eliminate them while you're at high strength or there's nobody to catch back in. It could be a dynamic dodger before they get room to manoeuvre effectively and keep sucking up ball possession from you. Or you could try to get their tactician, an organiser or a play caller out to decrease the effectiveness of your opponent's attacks back at you. Now, these decisions are going to change all the time, depending on how long's left, the score line, your team's strengths and weaknesses, the opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and what ball possession looks like. Now, to help you visualise these strategies, I've given myself the challenge of trying to pick all of them out just from one match. So we're going to be looking at footage from Leamington Spartans versus Manchester Bees in a men's Super League match. Now, this first one's an example of a call Spartans use to eliminate a specific target, a ball holder, number 87 on the right, so with a well-timed 2-ball attack there. Now, the team needs to decide who's going to make the attack and who's not going to make the attack. They need to consider who has the best chance of making a hit and who can effectively keep the team alive or punish opposition further after the attack. The team could decide who will throw based on personnel, who's left in on court. You could choose your player who's in most form or most accurate or powerful thrower. Or are all the eyes on those people and you want to choose an unpredictable thrower instead to make the hit. You should also consider position on court. Do you want to choose somebody to throw who is facing directly opposite your target, or somebody who's diagonally across from your target and maybe not in their direct eye line? Here's an example where Spartans use that strategy. They go for a cross court from their left-hand side over to Manchester Bees' right-hand side at a player who might not see it coming. We're going to move to the attack now. We know who's throwing, who they're trying to hit. Now, let's look at the non-thrower's role first of all. It's commonly done with fakes, their role to distract the target and opposition ball holders and then support this transition to defence afterwards. Normally you'll see players come up and then whoever's not throwing still gets involved, throws fakes to try and draw attention. You can also do that by positioning on court. So in the example on screen, it's not 3 people equidistant apart, it's a 2 and a 1 there. You can also use sudden flashes of movement, go from one and then veer off to the other side to try and distract. And finally, you can maintain eye contact with intended targets too. In the next clip, we see use of positioning. The Spartan centre player drifts left so that the Bees winger on the left has 2 potential straight shots in their eye line, which makes blocking harder. Next, we see Bees number 23 in the centre move left just before the attack to take attention of the Spartans' left winger. So quick movement left there from 23 to try and take attention, and it results in a hit. Next one, we see a good example of body position and eye contact. B's number 87 on the right looks set to throw at Spartan's winger with really aggressive body positioning, which helps to pin that winger down even though he's not being thrown at. So if you look on the right of the court here, from number 87, really aggressive body positioning there to help pin down the right wing for Spartans. We're now going to look at the throwers during this attack phase. They need to determine whether to throw in time or slightly out of time to give them the best chance of making a hit. Now, throwing in time is useful because it helps to limit catches because it makes it harder for an opponent to pick out one ball. Throwing out of time has its uses too. Throwing early could take opponents unaware, and throwing late could help you to track a dodge. So if I get thrown at and I lie down, for instance, I can't get back up quickly, that might be where a second ball comes in or a delayed ball comes in to make a hit on me. You also need to consider your technique. If throw-in players have any tricks up their sleeve, they should consider whether they should use them as opposed to their standard release, their most accurate and powerful shot. So techniques could include using no-look throws, using body position and eyes to deceive opponents as to where the ball's going. They could add spin to the ball, or they could use different release points, such as a hip shot or a wide release. In this example, the right side B players opt for a two-ball attack in sync to get a hit on the third player from the left on Spartans. So well-timed hit there. Another approach, the central Spartans player here delays their shot for a quarter of a second, just a little bit, which allows their teammate to draw a jump dodge, which they can track to get the hit from number 7. So, central Spartans player, slight delay, track the dodge there to get the hit. Finally, we have an example of a no-look throw, where the central B's player, on the other side of the court this time, uses momentum to swing his body further round to aim towards the opponent's right wing, so using some deception here. Okay, finally, once your team has made their attack, they've no longer got the majority of balls, they're going to need to transition to defence because they're going to be outnumbered. Anyone still holding on to a ball at this point needs to ensure their team does not lose more players than the opponents during this transition, so help them get back safely. They could do this first of all by covering, so adopting a really aggressive position, retreating slowly backwards, throwing fakes, adopting a really threatening posture, and taking attention of any countering opponents so they throw at you. If they do throw at you, you need to be ready to adopt a blocking position quickly if you're targeted. More aggressive options come in the form of trading. So a proactive trade is where I would go up, I'd fake and still have my ball, and instead of retreating, I'm staying high, and I'm waiting to see if a running opponent gets into my space. As soon as they get into range, I try and throw through their block to get a hit. A reactive trade, slightly different, this is more balanced. This is where you'd retreat back slowly with a ball, you wait until one of the countering opponents actually releases at one of your vulnerable teammates, and you don't want to let them get away with that. You want to avenge your vulnerable teammate, so you're going to release a shot now at that person, that opponent who doesn't have a ball anymore. Let's look at some examples. So first of all, we're going to see effective cover from the central Spartans player, allowing his teammate on the right to retreat safely after making this throw. So he retreats backwards slowly, throws a fake in, survives, blocking position to get back. Number 2 was under no pressure as he retreated there, so good cover. In the next example, we see a reactive trade from the central B's player who sees the Spartans' left wing throw at his vulnerable teammate on the left and makes a trade hit to secure a 1-for-1. So number 6 on the left is going to attack. Number 23 is waiting, sees a Spartan's left wing release and goes back at him for that 1-for-1 trade there. The final examples are more aggressive, proactive trade hit from the central Spartans player who stays high after his team attacks. So if we watch a central Spartans player, as soon as Manchester B's left wing attacks forward and gets into range, he stayed high, he goes for him, try and throw through his block immediately. So as you can see, there's an immense amount of information to process that leads to strategies being adopted in each of these 6 areas. It's not as simple as just going forward and getting rid of all your balls at anybody. Games are often won and lost depending on the team's ability to have success with set plays, so this is definitely something to focus on during your training sessions. Let us know how you get on, let us know how you approach set plays as well. Thanks.